Welcome to Trust Me, the podcast. We are your hosts, Beth Finkel and Keyana Salucci.
And we are here to share how we create magic in our everyday while balancing family, careers, and relationships. Welcome back, everyone. We are here with another episode, and it is going to be about the quiet shifts in parenthood. These are the small, often overlooked moments where your children start pulling away just a little bit, and how those tiny transitions hold big emotions. You're not losing them, but you are watching them grow right before your eyes. And that can feel like 100 micro goodbyes. So I'm going to start off, and Beth is going to roast me because
You don't know.
I don't know, but I'm a first time parent with kids in elementary school, right? So this is my first go round. And I do drop offs a few times a week. And today, when I was doing drop offs, my daughter goes, "Hey, mom, you don't have to get out the car to give us hugs and kisses. You can just pull off." And I didn't want to make a big deal, but like if I blinked, I think a tear or two would have came out. And it's only because rarely do we actually get to see our kids growing up as in real time. And it's easy to go back and look at photos or videos and things like that, and we see like how our kids have grown over time. But rarely in real time do we get those chances where we're like, oh my gosh, they're growing and they're transitioning. And today was one of those times. And I don't know if I was ready for it. I don't know how to even prepare for it, but it hit me hard. And when I pulled off, I was like, my gosh, this is where they're at.
I do want to hold you with love right now because I do know that you're like, damn, they really are old. But I just want to tell you, Zara was just trying to tell you, Mom, you are not supposed to get out of the car in the goddamn car line. And you're embarrassing me by giving me a hug and a kiss while all these other cars behind you are waiting to get their asses to work.
Well, Beth, that may
Do
be
you ever
true.
look back? Do you ever look back behind you and see like 17 cars like giving you the middle finger because you're out hugging your kids on the sidewalk? Like
No, but you know what I do?
you are that mom.
I am that mom, but I am conscious, right? I don't hold up the line. And usually when I'm like dropping them off in the drop up line, like I'm behind a car usually that's dropping their kids off.
And
So
is
I
that mom
have to
getting out? Be
no, but
honest.
she's not. She's not, but I'm waiting for her anyway. So like I'm always just like I open one door and I'm like, give me a kiss. Like it's like a real quick thing. And so I don't ever hold up the line in the sense of like it's me holding it up. It's usually a car in front of me or whatever. Needless to say, Beth, do not come at me when I'm hurting, when I'm struggling. But it was just that second I realized like, oh my gosh, this is happening. This is where growth is happening, and it's happening right in front of me. And I didn't want to respond in the sense of like, oh, how dare you say that? Or, I'm getting out anyway. I respected it, but
Yeah,
I like, it crushed me a little bit, just a little,
I
like just
get
enough to be like,
I get that. I get that. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for holding that in and maybe shedding a tear or two as you were, allowing others to get to work on time and stuff.
I can't stand her, guys. But like, when have like, what do we even call that? Like, what is that called when that happens? Is it a shift? Is it a milestone? Is it just transitions? Like, what is that? What's that called?
Honestly, I feel like it's a knowing. If I could like say the first word that comes to mind, it's a knowing of a lot of things. It's a knowing that you have really wrapped them in love and care and they know that, right? Like you giving them a hug outside of the car is really not something that they need, that physical touch, because they have a knowing that you love them. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like when, and I try to remind myself with mostly Nico because, he's on the other side now. He's, about to be a teenager and he's maturing every day into this young, beautiful, handsome man. And I have to remind myself that, it's just different now. He doesn't like physical touch as much. I have to get him in the moments that he's receptive to that. And like, all the stuff with like puberty, like I have to knock on his door now before I go in there because mama don't know what she's going to be seeing when she
Right.
walks in there if she doesn't knock on the door. So it's like it's just a shift. But to me, I like to reframe it as a knowing that you're doing exactly what you should be, and they're responding to that in that
Yeah.
way.
And I think it's even, with Indy being the youngest, sometimes I think like, I don't want those moments to go so quick. Like I have one more that will allow me to like get out the drop off line and give her kisses and hugs. And as
You're like, "Whatever,
simple,
Zara, I'm done with
right.
you. I'm done with you. I'm on to Indy now. Get out."
But as simple as it may seem, as a parent, like you want your kids obviously to grow and get healthy, and be healthy and be strong and all those things. But with time now in this period of my life, like I feel like it flies by. So I try to hold on to different things a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So it kind of slows it down for me a little bit. But
I've
when things
noticed
like,
a shift with Albany this year in that way, where it's like she's Miss Social Butterfly. And she's always getting invites everywhere. She's in this crew, that crew. She splits her time at lunch to like make it even because she's Albany. And like, I feel myself, I'm like, I kind of wish she didn't have any friends so she could be with me more. Like, I thought about that last weekend. And I'm like, no, that's very selfish. And her not having friends at this stage actually would be pretty detrimental. But
yeah,
it's like, so me kind of taking the L with her being more social outside of our four walls is really the best thing for her. And then I think that kind of leads into what my mom always used to say is like this sacrificial mother. Like that's kind of how that shows up for me.
I just want time to slow down a bit. In certain cases, right? Like when it's like, don't embarrass me by giving me kisses and hugs in a drop off line, or like don't call like even I think it was like a couple weeks ago, they were like, Mom, like, do you think you can just call us by, our names and not by like our like pet names or our little names that you give
You're
us? And
like,
I'm like, I'm gonna call you that. I won't do it in front of your friends. I'll respect you. But like this is how we show our love. This is how we show our connection. Like, is that cool? And they're like, yeah, just don't do it at like in public with our friends. And I'm like, I got you. I will respect your boundary, but you have to understand that like this is how I like to show my love for you, is to give you a little pet name that is the cutest thing ever that you've responded to your whole life until now.
I mean, I remember that. My whole family used to call me Bethy
Yeah.
or Bethy baby. And I remember in like third grade, I held like a family meeting and I was like, please stop calling me that. Nobody listened. They didn't listen to me.
Because we didn't have boundaries back then. My dad still calls me Muffin. Muffin has been like, I mean, at every dance meet, basketball, whatever it is I did, I heard my parents in the crowd saying, "Go Muffin, cheer Muffin," and I know that it was so embarrassing at that point, but now like they still call me that, and I like love it.
No.
Love it. So, like, that makes me so happy. So, it's just like those things that, like, we get attached to. And it will come full circle. I'm sure once our kids get older and they have families and whatever, like, they're gonna feel those things too. But, like, for me, I'm just like, wow, like, this is a big transition that's happening right now.
I also think it happens in the form of like not so great stuff too, adversity, And you want to swoop in and save them and be all protecting, but you can't because then they'll never learn to navigate any of that hard stuff by themselves.
Yeah. I
And
do
that's the
try.
worst.
I do try. I try to have them, with the means, right, advocate for themselves. I
Good.
try to have them put themselves out there, ask the questions that they feel as though they need to ask, and if they didn't ask the right ones, they'll know next time. So I try to put that out there so that they can learn now. Like there's gonna be times where I'm not gonna be around. There's gonna be
Right.
times where you're gonna be at school or sports or wherever, and you're gonna need to speak up for yourself. You're going to need to know the information that you need to know to give to whoever. So I try to instill that into them now, which they do a great job. But even with that, like when I see that happen, it's still it's like a transition. It's like wow, like
Yeah.
they're doing this
It's
themselves.
hard. It's sometimes these transitions, especially one like you had today with them saying, "Don't come out and publicly show me
Like, what? Like
like, follow the rules at the start line."
do you ever get like, will you get to the point where you're, like, embarrassed of your parents almost? Like, where
Yeah.
you're like, "No, you I don't want that."
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it'll be with you or I because 'cause we're obviously very cool,
Okay,
and we will always be, like,
that's what I
super cool
thought.
mom
Yeah.
flow,
Yep. That makes you feel better.
but I do remember being embarrassed of my mom.
Yeah.
And I, like, actually, like, remember feeling, like, very guilty about being embarrassed too. Like, I was at that age, and it was later than what your kids are. I wanna say it was, like, high school.
Yeah.
And I was embarrassed, and I would be, like, so guilty because I was embarrassed,
Yeah.
right? It was like 2 things were true for me.
Yeah. I know. I don't want to get to that point, but I do want to respect their boundaries and I do want to respect their decisions, like that wasn't always present when I was younger. It was like almost like what I say goes. So you just, so I do want to respect their decisions, their boundaries. So I'm trying to do that without my little feelings getting crushed. But a part of me is just like a glimmer. Like I've trained you well. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
and it's almost a growth marker for you
yeah,
because you're fitting yourself into their world versus them fitting themselves into your needs
yeah.
and your world.
Yeah. So it's like and at the same time, I feel it in both lights. I
Yeah.
feel the hurt that can come with just watching your kids grow up and not needing you as much, but I also can see like, "Oh my god, I've given them tools in their toolbox for them to use, and they're now using them on their own." So, like, that makes me feel good too. So it's not like it's conflicting, but there's 2 sides of the coin here.
What is the hurt? Like when she said you don't have to give me a hug outside, like what is the hurt for you? Like what do you think that's going to be?
I think because it feels like yesterday when they were like, "Mom, give me one more kiss and one more hug before I go into school." So I'm comparing it to that, where like they need you so much, they don't want you to leave their side, they want you to always be there. And not that she doesn't feel that, but at one point it was, and it seemed like it was yesterday, where it was one more kiss, one more hug before I walk in. And then now it seems like no more kisses, no more hugs before I walk in. And it's just like when I'm comparing the two, it's like polar opposites. And I'm like, wait, what is happening? How did it get here? How
Yeah.
did we get here, And like I said, like, time goes by so quick, and it's not until you have something to compare it to. So, like, when you're scrolling in your bed, looking on your phone, and you're looking at old photos and videos from, like, even at the beginning of the school year, now that we're at the end, and you're like, "Holy crap, they got so big. Oh my gosh, they got so tall," right? They look so much different. But it's only because at that moment, you're comparing it to where they were and where they are. And it's at this time again where I just said, like, comparing the 2, how they used to need me so much, and now it's like, I don't need you as much anymore. And I know that they're gonna need me in different ways, but it was just that it was almost like that part was happening, and it was almost like a door closing. And even
Yeah.
though, like I said, they're gonna need me in other ways, but, like, I don't want that door to close so quick.
I know, I know. And something that is that tender, like, and is yours, right? Like this experience of motherhood. Like if you kind of picture it or envision it as like this glass ball with like all these beautiful twinkle lights inside of it, right?
Mhm.
Like it's so tender. And that's why it hurts. Not even in like a bad way. It just like there's an achiness about them growing up because a lot of your identity is wrapped up in the people they are.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know, this morning just got me a little bit. I was like, wait, what's happening? And I'm sure, like, I don't even know if this is like, I don't even say the door was closed. Like, I don't even know if it's like, oh, next week it's going to be something different. And she's going to say,
Yeah.
Mom, give us a kiss and hug. And it could just be maybe she's seen someone outside and she was like, I do not want my friends to think that like I need a kiss and hug for my mommy before I walk into school. It could have been that. But either way, I'm kind of embracing this moment. I'm kind of trying to look at the positive and trying to stay like clear with that and understand that like transitions happen, growth happens, it's not bad even if you're not ready for it because it always happens when you don't seem to be ready for it, but it's a good thing. I'm
And
trying
how
to
beautiful of a thing for you that you're clear in seeing this.
yeah,
Because I think about when I was going through postpartum with Harper, that was like when you have postpartum depression, you walk through the world kind of in a fog, if I could
yeah,
explain it. And I remember talking to my therapist about just the concept of time, and I just had so much anxiety on the fact that, like, I feel like I'm missing out on their lives, right? Because it's like, I'm in this postpartum, I'm trying to figure out that for myself, and, it's like I was just grappling with this notion of time going so fast,
Mhm.
and the goal of the therapy was, like, get back to the present moment.
Yeah,
Get clear, get back to, like, it's not as grandiose. These moments aren't, like, mountain moving. They're
yeah.
very small moments. But I think it's so wonderful that you can sit there and be clear about it and see it unfolding in front of your eyes. I think that's such a gift.
And I think it's because I know what it is, right? Like
Yeah,
you said, like I know that there's so much love in our home. I know that there's a special love and connection between, us as parents and our kids. So I know it's there. And even though Zara did not want me to walk her out, get her out the car, and like I still did it from the driver's seat. You know what I mean? Like I still was there for her. Like go ahead, I'm gonna let you go on your own, but I'm here if you need me, kind of thing. And
yeah,
I think that like if I can just switch the way I thought about it, it would change, and it did. It changed my perspective a little bit,
yeah.
and so it wasn't as I mean, like I said, it was a moment, right? So that moment was real, it happened, but it was how I chose to react to what happened that allowed me to change my mind.
Yeah, and, like, pat yourself on the back, you know? You could have went and pulled the car over into a spot.
And what was I gonna do? And do what? And, like, get out and say, "Don't you ever"
No, like, be like, "Okay, now we're gonna take it on my time, and now I'm gonna walk you all the way to the door
to your classroom,
and sit there for a minute,
and I'm gonna hug and kiss you in front of everyone
3 times."
3 times. Kids,
So, I think in a moment, it's actually really like, in this moment, it really has nothing to do with Zara. It actually has everything to do with you.
100%. She's not thinking about this.
Well, it has nothing really to do with her growing up in this moment. It's
Yeah.
you and how you now will shift and move because you know this is imminent. You know
Well,
that this type of thing is imminent. And when it starts to happen, it's happens a lot.
it was definitely growth for me, 100%, and I think that's what it is, and that's why I didn't wanna project my own feelings onto her,
Yeah.
and I respect that because she wasn't saying it in a different in a manner that was, like, rude, she wasn't saying it to hurt my feelings, she wasn't saying it in any of those capacities, she was just letting me know, like, "Hey, you don't gotta get out the car," so the feeling that was felt was 100% just me,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that's why I had to, just, sit with that for a little bit because it wasn't about anyone else. It wasn't about her. Isaac didn't even say anything because he could care less. But
Too cool.
it was all me. So I had to remember we talked about checking ourselves. It was like I had to check
Yeah.
myself. I had to
Yeah.
check myself really quick and just know that instead of looking at this as a bad thing, like you can look at this as like a glimmer, like, oh my gosh, like I raised them well that now that they can do this on their own. And that sits better with me than I don't need you anymore.
She'll always need you.
She'll always need me.
She'll
That's just what
always
it
need
is.
you.
Always.
She will. Even when she's mad at you. You know what I mean? Like, I can remember being mad at my mom, and in that moment, I still kinda needed her to help me get unmad. You know what I mean? And I was mad
Yes,
at
yes.
her,
Yep, yep,
but, like, she's the one who could coach me through that emotion,
yeah.
or if she would give me space or whatever I needed in that moment.
I think that's what it is. I think that just learning to support them and not necessarily get angry or not necessarily catching feelings and projecting, but support it. So how can I support this? How can I look at this and say like, hey, like her intentions were good. They weren't bad, you know?
Right.
And the way I feel isn't because someone made me feel this way. Like the feeling is 100% mine.
Yeah. I love the other thing about your talk track today is just this honor that it is to be a mother, because you could totally spin this in a different way and say it something negative like, "Oh, I do all this and this is the thanks I get," right? And you're not saying it like that at all. You're taking it as a glimmer and you're ingesting it as like fuel to say like, let's keep going. Let's keep stretching. this glass ball and making it as glimmery and shiny as we possibly can, this glass ball that is, motherhood. And really making the most and getting the most capacity out of this experience. And I love that you're glorifying it in that way.
I think that I'm trying. I think that I'm trying to shift the way parenting was when I was younger, and I think a lot of it was out of fear,
Mhm.
right? When I was younger, and that's what my parents thought was good. Like, you have to do it this way. Your thoughts really don't matter that much. You know what I mean? Like, I am here to protect you. I am here to guide you, and you have to follow my rules or else, right? Like that was like their method, and that was the method that they knew. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm just trying to be more involved emotionally with my kids and try to understand them and understand like why they think a certain way, why they behave a certain way, and dive more into the emotional side of things
Mhm.
while also trying to keep my emotions to the side. So I think it's more so just trying to understand them on a different level that my parents didn't necessarily understand me.
Yeah. I think too there's probably something here, you like me, you're raised like in a pack with your cousins and your
Yeah.
siblings. There wasn't a lot of space for individualism. And then even like you think about your context with Zara and Ike, they're twins.
Yeah.
And so I also think you work really hard for her to have her own personality and be able to express that.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. It's like learning them individually.
Yeah.
And, like, that was something like I said, we I was raised with 3 siblings growing up, and then, gosh, a bunch of cousins, and everyone just got grouped into one because, we had working parents. We had everyone was on a grind.
Yeah.
It was easier to do it that way.
The agenda was
And
the agenda for all. We didn't
for
have
all
every child didn't have 3 different sports that they did. You
no,
were
it was
at
like, "Okay,
kindergarten.
you guys are doing cheerleading, everyone's doing cheerleading because 'cause y'all can all go
Yeah,
together."
and
E
football.
And
Cheerleading and football.
football, right? If you didn't like it, right? Because the boys played football, the girls did cheerleading, they practiced and
Yeah,
everything the same days. It was easier. So, like, now that you're trying to split yourself into, from in my case, 3,
17.
right? I'm trying to split myself into 3 with my kids and trying to be there and do this and treat them as individuals. Like, it's exhausting, it's a lot. And what one kid may need, the other kid may not. And it's so crazy. I read this or I listened to this podcast clip, and it was about like even though you were raised in the same household, you were not raised the same.
Mhm,
And some people don't understand, like, oh my gosh, we're siblings. We grew up in the same house. Why are you this way and I'm this way? Because even though you were raised in the same house, you weren't parented the same,
mhm.
right? Because you were parented according to your individual needs or whatever.
Well,
That's
hopefully
where
that's the case.
hopefully that's the case. And a lot of cases it doesn't happen that way.
I would say it's not, like,
You
that's
didn't.
not how.
That's not how I was raised, right? I was raised where everyone got the same parenting style, no matter what you needed, what you didn't need.
Or yeah,
So right now, sometimes it's exhausting when you're trying to split yourself into 3 because every kid is an individual. They're different and they need different things from you, even how you speak to them, even how you discipline them. Like whatever it is, like, I feel like each kid needs something different. And for you to almost like shift into something else, like you're like a shapeshifter
yeah.
into something else according to that child's needs. Like it's exhausting, it's a lot, but I'd rather sacrifice that time and just do it now than have to deal with other issues later.
No, it's good to get into that groove. I talk about this all the time, but with, our parenting, my case split into 4. Out the gate, Nico, on a regular day gets like 80%. And that has been through the length of me being a parent. He's my firstborn. By the way, side note, I'm so glad we had our episode because I was able to get out my emotions and make a decision on the school and actually go back to the school and really create a great, plan scenario. And we are actually going to still send him to that school, which if you would have listened to episodes ago, there was like no way. So for anybody that's following along, if you're curious about that, DM me what changed my mind and why I'm glad I wasn't so impulsive and burn shit down and call action news.
She was on the verge.
I was on the verge. I was on the verge, but I'm really proud of myself. I did a lot of apologizing over the last couple of weeks. Anyway, side note, sidetrack. I have to be really conscious to talk about something else besides Nicholas. And I'm so grateful for my therapist because sometimes it gets heavy. And not that that stuff doesn't go away. It not that it goes away, but you put it into a box and you put it on a shelf for a while because not that parenting him is not important. It's always going to be important. But I grew up in a household that the child who was struggling got my parents' attention the most. And that was never really me, right? Like, I was never the one needing that, but I needed other stuff. I needed to be seen. Even though I wasn't getting in trouble and I was, doing what quote unquote you should be doing, I still needed to be seen for that experience. And so I'm really conscious the fact that like even though we've gone through like a little rough patch with Nico, my goal right now is to just he's solid for the moment. I could poke holes into it all day long, but I'm not going to, right? Because I have 24 hours a day and this just enough mental load. I need to put that to the side and focus on the other kids. So like even like I laugh with my therapist. I was like, "Do you want to hear about them?" She's like, "Yeah, like what are they doing? What's up with them?" And it's like it's a nice refresher to like not even have to talk about him for a moment. Cause it gets me in a spiral. Cause I don't have control to fix everything for him right now. I can just support him moment by moment.
And you don't
So
wanna take away from the other 3,
right.
you know?
Right, and I don't want them seeing, like, all consumed over him all the time. And so even, we are very conscious, like, we don't talk about it in front of the other kids. We wait till like, if we need to talk about something, an email that came home or, a decision we have to make or anything, we wait until it's us. And, like, usually that comes in the form of, like, pillow talk or, like, if we get out on a date night, we can like catch up over that because I want them seeing me present with them when they're there. You know what I mean? Like it could so easily be sidetracked by when Harper's emptying her folder at the end of the day. If I'm sitting there reading an email from Nicholas's school and then I want to talk about it to Mike and then, oh, here comes in Nicholas, let me get the details right now.
Yeah,
What did I just miss? I missed everything she wanted to show me from that folder
yeah.
out of her book bag.
Yeah. And it's important because, like, showing up for each kid individually is so important. And, like, I've seen the aftermath of what it looks like to not do that. So, like, having that and for your kids to feel that, I feel like it's the best feeling. It's the best thing. Like, they feel important. They feel
Yeah.
like they are known. They feel like they are cared for. And even though, like, you tell your kids you love them, you tell them that, they're beautiful. You tell them all these things all the time, but it's the way they feel and showing up for them. You know what I mean? They know that you love them, but they don't feel loved. Or they know that you think they're important, but they don't feel important. So like not only saying it, but showing it is where it's at.
And I remember I used to really have a habit around that. Like, even though, we were talking a long, long time ago, because we're like over, we hit our 2 years recently on the podcast. And I remember a long time ago when I was still working in Delaware and I would come home and I would walk upstairs and, change out of my work clothes. And then I would spend individual 10-minute blocks with each of the kids, just undivided attention, right? This is back when they're playing with Legos and,
Yep.
they're little. I probably only had like 3 kids at this point. And so it's similar to that, but now. And
Right.
so now it looks different. It looks, like them coming off the bus or emptying their book bag or, before they go to bed, like as I'm combing their hair, wanting to get into a story and me like having to be like, no, don't rush this because this is how it's coming to you and this is what it looks like now.
Right. Right. Yeah, kids, it's complicated. It's not a one size fits all. It's very complicated at times. But I think that like because we're opening up, expanding our minds and not just raising our children how we were raised. And there's a lot of aspects from my childhood, a lot of ways my parents chose to do things that I've inherited and I take with me. But naturally there are some things that I want to change or shift that I feel as though are better decisions for my family. And I think that's what parenting's about. So like even though sometimes we feel like we don't know which way to go, or we don't know if the decision that we made is right, trust yourself. Trust that you've grown, you've built your character, you strengthened who you were, that every decision that you make thereafter is going to be the right decision for you.
I love that. Well, leading into Mother's Day, this is such a wonderful episode. Happy Mother's Day to all
Happy
the
Mother's
mothers out
Day.
there. We love you. You're doing a wonderful job. If no one has told you that lately, hear it from us. And remember to take care of yourself this Mother's Day because you deserve it.
You deserve it all.
It all. And also just please remember, do not get out of the car in the car in the car line. Please. Please,
I
just for the
shouldn't have
love
told
of
her
God.
this story. I shouldn't have told her
For
this
the
story.
love of God, kiss your kids at the house because honestly, as soon as we get into the school parking lot, I'm like, "Get your seatbelt off. Get the out of the car." Because 'Cause I'm like, "I love you, but get out."
Yeah, I'm cracking up. And like Beth's not joking, but Beth is well seasoned, right? I'm like, I'm still salt, pepper, garlic. She
Yeah.
is well seasoned.
You ain't
She
got the
knows what she's
flavor.
doing. I don't got the flavor yet. I'm getting there. I'm working towards it. And by the time Indy gets to elementary school, I'm like, yo, Indy, get out the car, girl. I know it's
Get
still
out the
moving. Get
car.
out the
People
car.
looking at me. I don't have
Right,
time for this.
right, right. So I'm sure that time would come, but right now I'm
Yeah.
going to hold up the line just 1 second and
Aw. Feel your feels, my
just feel
love.
my feels and enjoy it as I go.
All right, everybody, take care.
Bye.
All right, my good people, give us a listen.
If you do not already, follow us on Instagram at trustme_the_podcast.
We are now on TikTok.
TikTok.
Uh,
We are
Trust me.
Trust Me BK on TikTok. So
Love it.
give us a follow. Subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you choose. Thank you guys for listening. Tune in. Stay true to us. We'll stay true to you. If you guys have any comments, any questions, any podcast topics, please DM us. Don't be afraid. And until next time.
Love yas. Bye.
Bye.